As I say, welcome and call to order. And I'd like to acknowledge this meeting is taking place in the territory of the Algonquin people. And I don't know whether there's anyone watching me on the Facebook screen or not, but if there is, I'll just tell you, you're in a room with about 12 or 13 people. You've got a combination of board, staff, and there's a member, Fran. And that's what we're at. So in the calling of quorum, our bylaws say our quorum's 25, and our bylaws allow proxy attendance, and so I've got 60 proxies. Or I haven't, but the organization has got 60 proxies. So I'd like to state that we have our quorum, so we can proceed. So I need a motion to approve the draft agenda.
Now moved by Paul.
Seconded by Bill Ross. So the next discussion item is approval of the draft minutes of the 2017 meeting, which was held in New Brunswick at the Huntsman Marine Center. That was a fun gathering. And so that is on pages 4 and 5 of the AGM package. So have I got a motion to accept the meetings of the 2017 annual general meeting? Charlie, seconded by Susan. Any question?
Yes. Second line after number 1, the territory is not identified.
Oh, thank you for that.
We just add Passamaquoddy.
So, Caitlin, did you catch that? Thank you very much. And you can get the correct spelling, Charlie Welsh,
Sure.
with the spelling. Passamaquoddy. Thank you. I hadn't noticed that. So, any other questions about the minutes? All in favor? So the next item is the chair's report. So my name is Bob Peart. I'm the chair of Nature Canada, and I've been chair for a year and a half or so. And I've been involved as a member since the early 70s, and I've been on the board, I would guess, 4 or 5 years. And the points I would like to make are that first off, you'll hear from the treasurer's report and the executive director's report that the organization is in very good shape. And since 1939, we've been Canada's voice for nature. So that's quite exciting to think of our legacy. Our 3 kind of principal goals are to defend nature in protected places, to help protect species, and our third one is really, really important that we have that connection with the out of doors and making sure people are connected to the out of doors. I'm really proud to be involved with Nature Canada. It's a great organization. We've got a diverse range of programs. You'll hear that from our executive director. We've got a board and staff that are exemplary, and that's really exciting as well. And Fran, I don't know whether you know everyone here, so why don't we just take a second and go around so you know who's staff and who's board.
Okay. Staff. Caitlin. Staff.
Graham Saul, Executive Director.
Logan McIntosh, new or potential board member.
Bill Ross, Director.
Bill's also our treasurer.
Brenda Kenny, director.
William David, almost a director.
Almost.
There you go.
Charlie's our director, almost.
No, you are.
Okay, I'm director.
Susan Eaton, director.
Oh, Chimney Joy, you know me very well,
No.
Fran, considering we met. Fran's also volunteered for the organization, a member who volunteers.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And Cliff from Calgary.
So thank you for that. There's a real opportunity right now, and Graham will talk about that in his remarks. There's a real opportunity right now to protect good expanses of nature in Canada. And there's an opportunity to work to move forward on the protection of species, perhaps like never before in the last 10 or 20 years. So we're really excited about that, and I think Nature Canada is really well positioned to take advantage of that. And so those are the remarks from the chair. So the next item on the agenda is the executive director's report.
So my name's Graham Saul. As you know, I'm the Executive Director of Nature Canada. As I've said over the past couple of days in the meetings and the receptions that we've been having, I feel like it's an exciting time for Nature Canada. The organization is growing in terms of its supporter base. We are reaching out to people across the country who care about nature, and now have over 100,000 supporters spread across the country. We are also prioritizing our work with and outreach to nature organizations, both the provincial and territorial leads like Ontario Nature and Nature Quebec, but also hundreds of grassroots naturalist and nature organizations across the country. And we are involved in a variety of national policy and regulatory discussions. It's a particularly exciting moment because Nature Canada has the opportunity to be part of two key streams or activities at a federal level. First off, the federal government has made a major investment in nature in the last federal budget, $1.3 billion, and these are going to help the federal government deliver on two core objectives, both nearly doubling protected areas across Canada over the next few years, taking our terrestrial and freshwater level of protection to 17% and our marine to 10%. And secondly, taking a new approach to species at risk and beginning to focus on regions where many species are in trouble and trying to take an integrated and constructive approach to addressing those. And we look forward to both working with the federal government to achieve those goals, as well as working with our partners and the Nature Canada community across the country as in the coming years, because we feel that there is momentum within the federal government, and that is an important place for us to be, since defending Canada's land and water and reversing wildlife decline are two very critical components of our mandate and our work. At the same time, we've got a variety of other programs that we intend to continue over the next year and that have continued to show success during the previous year. Our Naturehood program continues to work with about 14 to 20 local partners across the country that are connecting tens of thousands of children to nearby nature, creating opportunities for children to get out of their schools or out from behind their screens and into national wildlife areas and migratory bird sanctuaries across the country. We continue to work with our efforts to keep cats safe and save bird lives by encouraging people to keep their cats indoors and minimize bird mortality. We are working with farmers across southern Ontario on specific and concrete things that they can do on their farm to help reverse declining swallow populations as part of our Save Our Swallow initiative. And we are also in the process of trying to bring together one of the largest gatherings, in fact, the first gathering in many ways, of conservation organizations from across Canada to have a conversation about how nature groups can be part of the solution to climate change. We also have a dynamic and important reconciliation conversation going on within the organization, and are seeking to more actively work with existing partners like Lac Seul First Nation and James Cree First Nation, as well as broaden our relationship with a wider range of Indigenous peoples across the country, and make sure that internally we're engaging in an honest conversation with ourselves about how we can be part of the solution in terms of reconciliation and move that forward. Simultaneously, our Women for Nature program continues to roll out a variety of exciting pilot programs and mobilizing a powerful network of engaged and dynamic women who are part of the conversation about a variety of nature issues. And we look forward to continuing to invest in that in the months and years to come, as well as one more thing, continuing to work with the leading role we play within the Green Budget Coalition, which is a national coalition of organizations that come together to try to maximize the environmental outcomes associated with the federal government, and we're partially responsible for the major victory we had in the last federal election. So it's been a very exciting year, and we look forward to another exciting year ahead, and that is my report.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report, and as Bill comes up as our treasurer, I'm just asking you in your in the board package, in the AGM package is the annual report, and you'll see in that annual report is a kind of a financial graph. And so maybe while Bill's talking, you could have a look at that graph. It's no, I think Fran, it's here.
Okay,
Yeah, in that. And so so Bill Ross is our treasurer, and thank you for your guidance over the last year, Bill.
Thank you. And so I'm pleased to present the financial report for this year, which is obviously very positive. We ended up the year with about $2.5 million of revenue, which is roughly about $600,000 above the year before, and that was thanks to the support of our partners. We receive about 70% of our revenue from donations and bequests and membership fees. So those account for the bulk, and about 28% of our revenue comes from corporate and government donations. The remainder really comes from interest from some of the reserves that we also keep. Now, we're very proud of the way in which we manage the funds which we receive, and we manage these judiciously. About 71% of our expenses is channeled straight back into our programs, to protect the environment, to protect nature and wilderness, and also to preserve nature for generations that come ahead. Just under 14% of those expenses also go to education programs, which we are proud to support, for both at the level of younger members and also generally the public at large. And we also like to channel about 11% of expenses into fund development, and this is to ensure the sustainability of the program going forward. And that leaves about under 5% of our revenues and donations actually goes into the administration fees and finance, which is very, very judiciously spent. So with that, we've ended up the year with just under 579,000 excess over expenditures, which will also be brought forward to the following year and regenerated and used for future programs. So in essence, I'm proud to say that the finances of the organization are very healthy, and we look forward for years ahead to work on future programs.
Any questions for the treasurer?
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is a motion to appoint the auditors, Bill.
Oh, yes. So I move motion to approve Collins Barrow as the auditors of the corporation for the fiscal year ending March 2019.
Brenda, no, sorry, William, Will, seconded by Brenda. Any questions?
I should add that the audited financial statements are available for all members to see.
All in favor? So the next item on the agenda is the election of the directors. So I just want, this is in the board, in the AGM package. This is pages 6 and 7. Pages 6 really, and then 6, 7 in the subsequent pages give a biography of the directors. So I just want to say that before I turn to the details of the board tries to find a balance of governance, policy, conservation knowledge, that type of thing on the board. We also really believe in trying to keep a geographical balance across the country, and a diversity and equity balance. So those are the kind of parameters we use when we search for directors. So just as a summary, on page 6, the Nature Canada Board of Directors, we serve 2-year terms, renewable twice, so there's three 2-year terms for a maximum of 6 years. Halfway through this year, I think it was in January, we received a resignation from the board by Tuma Young. Tuma was elected last year. I think he'd been on the board 4 or 5 years. Excellent representative, Aboriginal from Nova Scotia, lawyer, and he got seconded to some project, I think, at University of Phoenix or something like that, and he's no longer able to continue his role as a board. So I just want to acknowledge Tuma's contribution for the years he was on the board. So the board members continuing, myself, Susan Eaton, Khalil, Sabina, who isn't here today, she's in Nova Scotia, Brenda, and Riel Bison, who will be here tomorrow for our board meeting. So our terms continue. The board members that are standing for election or for re-election, she for Brisbane, she's home dealing with an electrical issue. Bill Ross. Riyadh is home dealing with a damage issue to his roof. Charlie. Logan McIntosh will be welcoming to the board. William David will be welcoming to the board. And so that's kind of where we're at from a board point of view. We've got 15 positions on the board, and so this is an acclamation process. We don't need to have an election. So that's kind of where we're at with our board of directors. So then what happens subsequently is that we've also got an executive. So the executive is at tomorrow's board meeting, the executive is formally named, and the executive is going to continue as it was. So I will remain chair. Schieffer, who isn't here, will be vice chair. Bill's going to remain treasurer, and Cliff will be appointed for 1 year, and Cliff will be appointed tomorrow. So that's the process. Charlie?
One question, Mr. Chair. For Cliff, is he part of our slate, or is it an appointment afterward?
He's appointed afterwards.
There's a vacancy for a few hours.
Yeah, effective now, Cliff.
After dinner, Cliff.
Yeah, effective now, Cliff is no longer on the board. Effective by 20 after 9 tomorrow morning, Cliff will be back on the board. He's an appointed board member. So, are there any questions about the board and the process? So then we move to questions and other business. This probably went pretty quickly, Fran, but if your head's spinning a bit, we'll be around for a few minutes. Glad to answer any questions that you've got. Any questions, or is there any other business from other members who are present?
Motion for the slate?
No, it's an acclamation.
We don't need one?
No.
If there were objectors or something, there might be an objection motion. But
Okay, well then, you see no questions, and there's no other business on the agenda. The 2018 annual general meeting is adjourned, and I don't know whether you need a motion to adjourn an annual general meeting or not. I don't think you do.
We'll do it.
Just in case Bill's going to move to
I'll
to
second,
join
just
us,
in
Brenda will
case.
second. So, thank you very much, and if there was anyone listening on Facebook, or if there will be, thank you very much for your interest in Nature Canada.